Today, we're going to dive into the story of a medicine that absolutely changed the game for people with diabetes, NPH insulin. For decades, it was the go-to treatment, and its story is this incredible mix of brilliant science and some very, very real trade-offs.
I mean, just think about that for a second. That's the whole paradox of NPH. The one thing that made it so revolutionary, so effective, was also the very thing that made it potentially dangerous. So let's unpack how that actually works. Okay, so before NPH came along, the only insulin you could get was short-acting. Just imagine this. You'd have to inject yourself every 4 to 6 hours, day and night, just to manage your blood sugar. It was this constant, relentless cycle that made normal life incredibly hard and created a desperate need for something, anything, that would last longer. And the solution they came up with? It was absolutely ingenious. Scientists figured out a way to basically turn that short-acting insulin into a time-release formula, all with a little bit of clever chemistry. And this is it, NPH insulin. The name actually tells you the whole story. Hagedorn for the brilliant Danish scientist who figured it out, neutral because of its pH, and protamine, well, that's the secret sauce. Protamine is a protein that, believe it or not, comes from fish sperm. And when you mix it with insulin and a little zinc, they form these tiny, stable crystals. And those crystals, they are the key to everything. So here's how this crystal trick works. When you inject the cloudy liquid, those crystals create a little deposit or a depot right under your skin. Now, they're too big to get absorbed all at once. Instead, your body's enzymes have to slowly break them down, piece by piece, releasing that insulin steadily over many, many hours. It's kind of like having a tiny time-release reservoir of insulin working all day from just a single shot. Pretty smart, right? This slow-release mechanism creates a really specific pattern of activity in the body. You can almost visualize it, like an insulin mountain.
So check this out. After an injection, the insulin kicks in after about an hour or two. But then it starts to climb. And somewhere between 4 and 10 hours later, bam, the insulin action hits its absolute maximum strength. This is the peak. After that, it gradually tapers off. And that powerful peak, that is the absolute heart of our story today.
Because that peak wasn't just a feature, it was a fundamental trade-off. It was a true double-edged sword that you had to constantly and carefully manage.
So on one hand, you could use this peak strategically. You could take your morning dose and time it so that its strongest effect hits right around lunchtime, helping to cover your meal without another shot. Great, right? But on the other hand, that same peak created a huge risk of hypoglycemia, or low blood sugar. If your lunch was late or you decided to go for a run, that peak of insulin could send your blood sugar crashing to a dangerous low. And living with that peak really dictated every part of your day. The fear of nighttime lows was always there. The absorption could be a little unpredictable from one day to the next. Your whole life had to revolve around this rigid schedule of meals and even mandatory snacks just to stop your blood sugar from bottoming out. And on top of all that, because it's a cloudy suspension, you had to carefully mix it, roll the vial, never shake it, before every single injection, just to get the dose right. So with all these complexities, how did doctors and patients actually use it day to day?
Well, one of its biggest advantages, historically speaking, was that you could mix it. NPH is the cloudy insulin, right? You could actually draw it up into the same syringe as the short-acting clear insulin. This led to that famous rule that was taught for generations: clear before cloudy. And that simple trick meant you could get your background and your mealtime insulin in a single shot. For daily life, that was a massive improvement. Now, you might be thinking that with all these challenges, NIPH would be a total relic of the past, but it has this incredibly enduring legacy. Today, of course, we have modern basal insulins that have completely different profiles. You can see they're basically peakless. They give you this flat, steady background level of insulin that can last for a full 24 hours. This makes the risk of hypoglycemia way, way lower and gives people so much more flexibility. By pretty much every clinical measure, they're a safer, more convenient option. Which, of course, leads to the big question. If we have these better, safer tools, why is this decades-old insulin still one of the most commonly used forms of insulin on the entire planet? And the answer comes down to one simple, powerful thing: cost. NPH is just so much cheaper to make than the modern analog insulins. And that affordability means that for millions and millions of people, whether in resource-limited countries or for those without good insurance, NPH isn't just an option, it's the only option. Its low cost makes it an absolutely essential, life-saving medicine worldwide.
And that leaves us with one final, really important question. See, the story of NPH isn't really about the past. It's about the present, and it's about the future of global health. It forces us all to ask, in this global fight against diabetes, how do we balance our amazing medical innovations with the vital, fundamental need to make sure everyone has access to the medicine that keeps them alive?